Welcome back to the Authentically Attuned podcast. I am your host, and my name is Esther. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the signs that I overlooked while I was in a relationship with a man who was secretly hateful of women, who hated women, disliked women, and was seeking sex from other men. The reason I think it's important to talk about this is because I now, in hindsight, I can see how obvious these signs were, and I can see that the only reason I overlooked them is because I felt like he was a straight man. So even though there was some very obvious red flags, and I had some small feelings of like, I don't think a straight man, a man who really liked a woman, would say or do something like this. I overlooked that because, sexually things were going well. And what I saw as masculine behavior publicly, he showed that. So I want to share this for any women who are out there, or men who are out there, who are experiencing certain behaviors similar to this and are questioning themselves. Like, I am putting this out there so that you're not the only one. And most likely, again, I'm not saying I'm an expert. I'm just saying that in my case, it turned out to be true. So I would not ignore these signs if I could do it again. I think also that a lot of DL men count on the fact that women are going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And I think that has a lot to do with, they understand, or what they've been taught is that women are more empathetic. They are supposed to be more forgiving, unconditionally loving. I think this is how these men are raised because their mothers put up with their shit in order to use them emotionally. So that's a whole nother episode. But I just want to say that none of these things that I'm about to list are in order, in any sort of order. I'm just kind of going off the top of my head. I haven't written anything down. I'm just going off of the main things that I know were thoughts. Like, when these incidents happened, I really did question his sexuality, but I never allowed myself to think deeper into it. So denial, basically. I also want to say that I did go through further lengths to confirm. After I broke up with him, I actually did go through some crazy lengths, I will admit, to confirm my suspicions, because after I broke up with him, I found this content creator, the DL Whisperer, and I don't think that was a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. And I felt like it was a confirmation. That's what led me back down the rabbit hole of everything I was questioning about my ex while I was in a relationship with him. And so I did do what I had to do to confirm. So I'm not speaking from suspicion. I just want to say that. And I'm not going to share how I confirmed this publicly because I'm not dumb. And I do want to say that I plan on in the future helping other women get to the bottom of it the same way I did. So moving on, now let's talk about the signs and the red flags that I overlooked. The first one is, when we first started dating, we talked on the phone pretty much every night. And one night, very early on, before 6 or 7 months into the relationship, around, I would say 4 or 5 months max, or less, we were on the phone, and he told me that he would have to call me back. And I was like, oh, okay, it's okay, I can wait. Because sometimes we did that. He would go do whatever he has to do, and I just wait on the phone until he comes back. But he was kind of hesitant, and I think I pushed, and I tried to figure out, like, what was it that he was about to do, because he seemed really, like, almost embarrassed to tell me. And so he did eventually end up telling me that he had to go give his mom a foot massage. And I remember being very upset. I remember being triggered and thinking, why? Because one thing is, I know for sure he has a father. His parents are married. They live in the same home. His father was home. It was a weekend. And so that upset me. And this fight didn't really come in. We did fight about it, but it didn't really get into any conclusion. We didn't come to any conclusion. I just remember we kind of just moved on, because he did go and do it, give his mom a foot massage, and then we just moved on. So I'm probably going to go into this in more detail in another episode. But that incident really should have been, because this was the first kind of personal tense incident we had, and I guess first argument, kind of. And it should have foreshadowed a lot, because like I said, if you haven't watched my The Truth About DL Men episode, you should go listen to that after you listen to this one. I mentioned in that episode that I believe the root of this trauma has to do with a toxic relationship with their mothers. So emotional incest, emotional enmeshment with their mothers. This definitely became a theme in our relationship. His mother was pretty much the number one reoccurring issue that we had in the 3 years we were together. The next incident that happened that was a major red flag that I feel like I overlooked is in 2021. So we started dating in March 2020. And in January of 2021, me and my brother and my mother were in a car accident. And I remember calling him immediately when it happened. He didn't answer. He did tell me that that night he was going to go see one of his friends, longtime friends. This was a friend that I have heard about since the first day we met up and had a date. So he was with this friend hanging out, and I called him and let him know about the accident. And he did come later that night, a few hours later, to come and see me after the car accident. And so after this incident, I was glad he came. I wanted him to come, and it made me feel like he did care. But after the fact, when we would get into fights and things like that, here and there, he would throw back in my face that he dropped everything. He left so-and-so's house to come and see me that night. And it rubbed me the wrong way. I never wanted to take it too serious or be too offended by the fact that he kept bringing that up. But I do see now that I should have looked at it. Even if I didn't bring it up, I should have taken it more seriously, because imagine your girlfriend was in a car accident and you feel like you did her a favor by ending the night early with your homeboy, who you claim that you're just smoking and talking and watching shows with. That's crazy to me. And now the more I think about it, it's like, yeah, he must have had to, stop whatever he was doing, that I guess it was really enjoyable for him to come and cater to my emotional needs. So yeah, that was a red flag. And now I know that what most likely happened, why he kept bringing that up, is because he had to take something out of somewhere to come and see me, and he was not happy about that. The next sign is we ended up moving in together in 2022, April of 2022. And he moved into my mother's house. Before this, we had conversations. I told him I absolutely do not want to move in with his family, because I already felt like his mom was giving me bad vibes. He didn't want to accept it. He denied it, and at times just would not really give his opinion on it. Sometimes he wouldn't deny it, but I was very vocal at that point about the fact that I felt like his mom was like jealous of me or triggered by our relationship. And so after he moved in, around that time, we were having some issues. We would fight and make up, things would move on. One night, randomly, I felt the urge, and again, ladies, always listen to your intuition, always listen to your gut. Everyone, not even just ladies. I listened to my gut. Something told me to check his phone. And that wasn't something I normally did in our relationship because we were together all the time. We were talking all the time, and he was never on his phone. That was not something either one of us did. When we were together, we were together. We are not like texting other people, or like neither one of us really used our phones much around each other. So I never felt the need to check. But so when my gut was telling me to check, I was like, I'm gonna check. And I checked, and I didn't see any open threads that were suspicious, but something told me to check the thread between him and his mom. And oh my gosh, she was basically saying that I don't know how to say it in English, but malitvie, that's how it's said in Creole, basically means like I wasn't raised well. And she was saying that he needs to put his foot down. He needs to stop letting me, I guess, treat him a certain way. And he needs to take on his man character. I'm going to post the screenshots of these messages that I found on the screen right now. I also want to add that if you are listening to the audio version of this podcast, you probably won't be able to see the screenshots, but I have the visual version on YouTube. So if you want to watch the video with the screenshots, and because I'm going to be inserting a lot of things into this episode, so please feel free to check out my YouTube channel if you want to see the video version of this podcast episode. Do ba 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 do do ba do boo do a boo ba do boo boo. Because I did save them. This was like really shocking to me. So what I did was I screenshotted them from my phone, or I took a picture with my phone from his phone, and I saved these screenshots. And I showed it to him, and I told him about it. Because to me, this was proof that his mom hates me, like I already told him. And it was also proof that he knows that, and he just didn't tell me. So that's a red flag. The red flag about this for me is the fact that he had this conversation and didn't tell me, and we lived together. So when I found out about these text messages, it was not the day of. It was a couple days, maybe a week max after this conversation between him and his mother happened. So it really upset me that he didn't even tell me that this happened. So from there, I should have been aware that there was a lot that he was keeping from me. And I was aware, but I wasn't taking it as serious that he was keeping things from me when it comes to his mother. I felt like, well, that's his mom. He probably knows she's a and he doesn't want me to know that. So the next incident that happens is a couple months later, I find out through my sister that my mom is receiving calls from people from her church that are basically telling her that my ex's mother is going around telling people that my mom stole him from her to move into her house to pay bills. Just a lot of ridiculous stuff. She was just going around gossiping. So I confront him about this, and I let him know that this is crazy. Like, what is you came here. He literally packed up his car, like all his furniture in his car, and drove his stuff to move into my mom's house. So I'm letting him know, like, this is unacceptable. You need to talk to your mom and let her know that, like, this was a choice you made. And of course, this is just a very short version of the story, but so I'm fast forwarding, and he does eventually call his mother. He calls her in front of me, and they have a conversation, and listening to that conversation should have showed me what I was really dealing with, because it was like watching a grown man regress age regress in real time. His voice sounded younger, like he couldn't really, he was like shaking, stumbling over his words, not really able to get out what he needed to say. I'm trying to like signal to him things that need to be said to stay on topic. He barely even told her about the topic they're like talking about. It was very uncomfortable. I felt like kind of embarrassed, secondhand embarrassment watching that. It just didn't go how I thought. I thought he would have put his foot down and, but I just watched his mother emotionally manhandle him for almost an hour while they were on the phone. Like, she went from playing the victim to then she would get this like really deep voice and start like scolding him, and then she would go back to like, oh my gosh, why are you doing this to me? You're doing this all because of a woman, which is me. And at one point she starts crying, like just bawling on the phone. And he's just sitting there, we're sitting there as the phone is on speaker, and she's crying. And I'm rolling my eyes, and I just see now that he is no match for this woman. I did see that at that point, but I didn't want to make him feel bad about it. I felt like I had no choice but to just accept this situation, because I was aware now that he's powerless to her emotional manipulation, to be honest. And so, but he did agree afterwards that he would not be speaking to her. He told her that on the phone, and that was enough for me at the time. It was enough. And he did follow through with that for like 3 months until he did get back in contact with her. The next sign that I overlooked that honestly was a big red flag is when we would fight. I would like, or when he would do something that I didn't like, that was emotionally hurtful or neglectful, I would tell him like, you're not acting like a man right now. And he would also tell me at times, oh, I'm not acting like a woman, or I am acting like a man, certain things. So I would say the same thing. And I'm not saying like in a tit for tat way. I'm just saying to show you that like, I don't understand in what world me as a straight woman would be insinuating that my man is acting gay. In my mind, I'm insinuating you're acting like a little boy when I say you're not acting like a man. I don't know if when he was telling me I am acting like a man or I'm not acting like a woman, that he meant I am acting like a lesbian. But in my mind, that definitely was not what I was receiving from him, and it was not what I was saying. But when I would say these things, sometimes he would respond to me and be like, yeah, maybe I need a man. Maybe I need to get a man then. Or like he would insinuate, maybe I need to go get a man and be with a man. And I'm like, what? I would just kind of ignore it in the moment because I'm like, you're just being an asshole. But now when I think back to it, I'm like, no straight man would say that. And I did have those small thoughts, like no straight man would say that. And when I confronted him about this months later, so we broke up and then we got back in contact, and I confronted him about this, and I said like, that he would say these things to me, and I don't understand why he would tell me that he needs to be with a man. And he said to me in this conversation that he even resents the fact that I'm bringing this up and saying it to him, like bringing this back up to him, because he realized through talking to his new pastor or whatever at the new church that he was a part of now, that he said those things because I was insinuating that he was gay when I would say things like he's not acting like a man. That blew my mind. I'm like, you can't even take accountability for the dumb shit you say. Like, I would have respected him more if he just said it. If he said he only said that because he was mad, I probably would have, accepted that and never thought about it again. But the fact that he said that he tried to blame it on me, saying that he only said those things because I was insinuating that he was gay, I was shook. Moving on. The next thing is, he confessed to me on January 3rd, 2023, about certain things that happened to him as a child and involving other men, boys, I don't know what you want to call it. I'm not going to get into too many details because that is not my story to tell. And I'm actually very grateful that he told me. And that day was a very special day for me as well. And after he confessed this to me, I let him know that I don't care about that. I still love him and I still want us to be together. And he was very shocked. He was crying, and after the fact, he was telling me that he was worried that I would think he was gay and that, basically I wouldn't want to be with him anymore. And for a couple months, he was seeing this day, January 3rd, as something really special. He said he wants us to celebrate it every year. It's a special day. And so now looking back, these things are so crazy to me. And I don't even care if anyone believes me or not, honestly. If you know either one of us in real life, just take this as as entertainment, as a story. Just listen to it like a story. Because for me, it is my lived truth, but I do not care if people believe it or not. Because this was so shocking to me that if I didn't live it, I would have a hard time understanding this too. Anyways, the next thing that happened is that once we got back in contact, I broke up with him in January of 2024. So a year after he had made this confession to me. And we were broken up for about 8 months. And then we got back in contact because I needed to get my necklace, the one that you see on me in every picture if you follow me on Instagram or see my profile picture anywhere. I had pawned that necklace. It's a long story. Basically, I had pawned that necklace and it was under his name. I needed to get it back. And also, there was some closure that needed to happen. After we got back in contact, we went out to dinner, and in this dinner, he was telling me that while we were not in contact, he went camping with his friend, the same friend, by the way, from the day of my accident, when he claims he had to leave this friend's house to come and see me. So the same friend, he said he went camping with this friend. And while they were at the campsite, there was another group of people there, and one of the guys in that group happened to ask my ex if him and his friend were in a relationship, if they were a couple. And mind you, I had a glass or two to drink already at that dinner, and we were having a good time. So when he told me this, I just felt like he was sharing. So I was like, oh, well, yeah, I can see why some people might think that about you, but it's probably because they see men a certain way and, they're just closed-minded when it comes to masculinity. But I don't think that about you, but I'm not surprised that he did. I said things along those lines, and I didn't realize it then, but he definitely shut down after that. I realized he shut down, but in my mind at the time, I was not thinking it was about what I said. But that was when the whole night shifted. He played it cool for the rest of the dinner, but by the time we got in the car, he was mad. And I had already went through this rodeo with him where I know when he's upset. And I didn't know what I did. It really felt like nothing happened and he was just mad. But after some more processing, I realized I don't think he liked my response so much. I think he was expecting me to be like, what? How could he think you were gay? No way. That is crazy. But that was not my response. So, yeah. Now, in hindsight, I see that I can see why he was so upset. Last but not least, I saved this one for last. Although it happened before the restaurant situation, Brokeback Mountain camping trip, it happened before this. But I saved it for last because I think this was the biggest sign that I overlooked, the biggest red flag that I should have paid attention to. So shortly before I broke up with him, so like I said, I broke up with him in January of 2024. I would say this happened in the summer of 2023, maybe fall. So maybe like August, September, I would say, of 2023. We were in his car one day and we had been fighting. So after we would fight, we'd have like these awkward transition days where we're like being cordial with each other again and speaking, but not necessarily the way we usually are, like as intimate as we usually are with each other. So during this, we're in his car and we're smoking, and we're talking. We would talk a lot about things that we're processing and healing and going through. Because we talked a lot about the mother wound and how we both actually have a lot of strong resentments towards our mothers. So this day, he decides to share with me that he has been intentionally looking up and watching porn. I don't know if I can say the P word on here. I'm going to say it. Porn. Porn. So he let me know that he was looking up videos intentionally with women who were shaped like his mother, who had the same build and body type as his mother. So just to help you with a little visual, his mother is shaped like a plus-sized upside down triangle. And this is no shade. I'm just trying to say it like it is. So now he goes on to tell me that he did this because he wanted to see if he would be able to finish, if you get what I'm saying, to one of these videos. And I was shocked. I remember sitting in the car, making so much effort to show absolutely no reaction to what he just said. Because at that point, I was already under the impression that he was a narcissist. So I was already trying very hard to not give him my emotional energy unnecessarily, especially when I felt like he was trying to trigger me intentionally. So I was thinking this was one of those moments where he's intentionally trying to trigger me and get a reaction out of me. I was like, where's Ashton Kutcher? Is he gonna pop out any second? Please say JK right now. And he did not, in fact, say JK. He then goes on to tell me that he did not finish to one of these videos. So that's a good sign. In my mind, I absolutely knew that was a lie. I was like, the fact that you're even telling me this lets me know that you did actually to one of these videos. I don't care. I hope I can say that word. I'll probably bleep that out. So yeah, that was shocking and it was intense. And then he followed it up. Like, it just kept getting worse, because in that conversation, he says that his mom has the ideal body type that women get plastic surgery. They go and get plastic surgery to look like her. And that's when I had to step in. I was like, I don't know. I don't think that's true. And he's like, yeah, like big boobs or whatever. Because like I said, she's heavy set on the top, like triple D's maybe. I don't know. This is very awkward to talk about, but this is the truth and I need to speak it. Yes. I was like, I don't know about that. Maybe breast implants, sure, but I don't think like women are going to their surgeon and showing pictures of women that look like your mom. And yeah, I could tell he just kind of gave me this let's agree to disagree type of answer. And I was fine with that. That till this day is still the most shocking thing I experienced in that relationship. Out of all the things that happened in that relationship, that moment in his car when he told me that his mother has the ideal body type and this is what women go to get surgery to look like, I was shocked. And I hope I never experience anything like that again. I know I won't, but for sure, I will never forget it. And I'm going to insert a picture right now of the closest image I could find to someone who looks like his mother physically. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want you all to understand why this was so shocking that he told me that women go to get plastic surgery to look like her. This, again, is no shade to his mother. I don't even understand why he brought her in to this conversation in this way. But actually, no, I do understand, because to be honest, she created this monster in a sense. I felt at that point like I was in Bates Motel. Like, I felt like I was sitting next to Norman Bates. And I still feel like that to this day, that's who I was sleeping next to every night, and who I was in a relationship with was Norman Bates. I think that's going to be my new thing. Like, instead of DL men, thinking of DL men like in the closet gay men, let's start visualizing Norman Bates when we talk about DL men. So I think that's everything I'm going to talk about in this episode. Like I said, I may or may not upload a longer episode with a little bit more details into these stories, but that's probably going to be on my subscribers only, just because, personal information might be in there. If you got this far, thank you for listening. I really appreciate you taking your time to listen to this episode, and I hope that if you can relate, I hope that you don't blame yourself. I hope that you know that men like this will never stop running from who they truly are, because as long as empathetic women like you and me keep stroking his ego, he really has no reason to face his shame. So if anything, if this episode confirms anything for you, anything you've been feeling in your gut, I pray that you find the strength to do what you need to do to free yourself from this kind of environment. The next thing I want to say is, I know for sure that this man is now basically just trying to act like nothing happened and rewriting his narrative by moving on to a new community and into a new spiritual community, basically just changing up the people in his life. And that is usually the routine for guys like this. And this is why, as women, I do believe it's important for us to speak up and out against it, because this is how predators like this stay protected. Is most of us feel ashamed that we were able to get manipulated by someone like this, and so we don't usually tell our story, and that's what keeps other women falling into this cycle of being manipulated by someone like this, and they know that. So I'm not going to just sit back and let that happen. I don't really care if people think I'm bitter or I need to just get over it. Anyone who says things like that, I know now, is either just as predatory and abusive as this man, or they have been through something very similar and they are ashamed and they are projecting their shame onto me. So thankfully, I'm not easily influenced, and I'm not going to stop sharing my story, because I know that there are other women like me who I absolutely needed to hear other people's stories. And I'm glad I did, and I'm glad that it helped me free myself from my environment. The only thing I won't do is, I'm not going to be posting his face, obviously, because I need to protect myself legally, and I don't think that's necessary. But I will say that if you go to this church, I'm going to put the church name on the screen right now, or if you live in this city or this city, please feel free to DM me, send me an email or anything if you feel suspicious that you might be interacting with a man who's showing you similar signs or red flags, because it could possibly be him. Unfortunately, Ontario is not as big as it seems. Toronto is not as big as it seems. So yeah, if you're in Toronto, if you're in Brampton, if you're in Mississauga, or you frequent those areas, and you are concerned that a man that you are seeing or talking to is possibly on the DL or giving Norman Bates vibes, feel free, reach out, and I will send you not only his picture, but I will also send you a picture of his boyfriend, because I think, birds of a feather flock together type of thing. If you've seen one, you've probably seen the other. So yeah, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening once again, and I hope to talk to you in my next episode. Bye.